Man, I'm impressed. Okay, we're going to move on with presentations of proclamations to the outgoing and incoming Poet Laureates, and that will be done by Councilmember Meisner. And thank you again to our Army Reserve. Thank you so very much, gentlemen.
So I could have my Poet Laureates come up here, my outgoing and incoming. So this is a great honor. I went to the celebration of the outgoing and incoming Poet Laureates a couple of weeks ago, and it's a really great community that we have here in Solano County. I know that Benicia and Vallejo work together, and there's just an excellent, really supportive community of poets here. So anytime folks get a chance to see some of our poets out and about, take that opportunity. And I just want to put a plug in for my husband, Jeff Kingman, who is a local poet. And so really that's a connection. He's over there. That's a connection, and you can get his currently published book at our local bookstore downtown, Alibi Bookstore. Sorry I had to do that plug. So, and big shout out to the Vallejo Community Arts Foundation. So the Poet Laureate was selected by the Solano County chapter of Solano Links. The last couple of Poet Laureates, well, the first, Janae Bryce, and the second, D.L. Lang, and excellent selection. We couldn't have asked for better poets. And then the next Poet Laureate was selected by a new group. It's under the umbrella of the Vallejo Community Arts Foundation, and it's hosted by Renee Conlon, and she got together a group of poets, local published poets in Solano County, and they did interviews, and they chose Jeremy Snyder. So excellent, another excellent choice. We are very lucky to have talent in our community. So with that, I'm going to read one proclamation for DL, and then the next for Jeremy. So here we go. And this is a proclamation honoring D.L. Lang for her service as the second Poet Laureate for the city of Vallejo. Whereas Ms. D.L. Lang, a well-known and respected Vallejo citizen and published poet, has participated in Vallejo and Bay Area poetry events and has written poetry since her elementary school years in Enid, Oklahoma. And for many years, Ms. Lang has actively encouraged poetry in Vallejo. And whereas in September 2017, Ms. Lang was chosen as Vallejo's second Poet Laureate by the Poetry Vallejo Committee, a committee consisting of the Solano County chapter of the Links Incorporated and the Vallejo Community Arts Foundation. And whereas Ms. Lang has brought her artistry and her lengthy experience to the city of Vallejo in service as City of Vallejo's Poet Laureate, and since becoming the Vallejo Poet Laureate and during her tenure, Ms. Lang has written poems in honor of and for many occasions, spoken for, mentored to, hosted, advocated for, and presented at numerous civic functions, group meetings, and organizations, joined and worked with poets and poet laureates throughout the Bay Area, hosted poetry readings and events, edited and published poetry, and whereas as a Vallejo Poet Laureate, Ms. Lang edited the anthology Verses, Voices, and Visions of Vallejo, featuring 43 writers, published poetry in reformjudaism.org, Marin Poetry Center Anthology, Volume 21, Light and Shadow, A Poet's Siddur, released 3 new poetry collections, Resting on My Laurels, The Cafe of Dreams, and Midnight Strike. Ms. Lang spoke about the work of Alicia Oxstryker and Emma Lazarus for the American Association of University Women's Voices of Change, created 2 poems using vocabulary suggested by the San Francisco Grattan School students, spoke about the future of poetry and her role as Poet Laureate at the San Mateo County Fair's Poet Speak Forum, gave the 2019 Women Building Vallejo Summit invocation, participated in Bookshop Benicia's 2019 Independent Bookstore Day, organized Unity Day 2018's Up Bay Poetry Showcase, creating a community poem with contributions from Unity Day visitors, and regularly curated a newsletter, websites, and social media pages to connect and inform local poets of opportunities, and co-created the Vallejo Poetry Society. And we are a hard act to follow. And whereas as a Vallejo Poet Laureate, Ms. Lang gave 141 public performances, including Vallejo, including Vallejo events solidarity with Charlottesville, Queer Words Vallejo, Families Belong Together, Women Building Vallejo Summit, Vallejo March for Peace and Justice, Participatory Budgeting, International Peace Day, the Flyaway Festival, Vallejo United Against Hatred and Anti-Semitism, Unity Day, Vallejo Soup, the McCune Symposium, Voices of the Season, the Vallejo Peace Project, Speak Up for Peace, Jews of Vallejo and Their Fabulous Friends, Hanukkah and Hilarity, Resilient by Design, Coal Shed Books Unbound Show, Solano County Fair, and Ode to Labor at Georgia Galleria. She co-hosted Poetry in Notion and regularly performed at Poetry by the Bay and on Art Beat Poetry Hour on KZCT. She interviewed and performed for Jabba Jazz Lions Poetry Month and Nina Sereno's Poet to Poet on KPFA Radio and on Art Beat on KZCT Radio. She organized and hosted the JFK Library's 2018 and 2019 National Poetry Month shows, Poetry in Notion live at the McCune and the Versus Voices and Visions of Vallejo Anthology Lunch. She served as a judge for Solano County Fair's Solano County Libraries Write On, Teen Poetry Contest, Poetry Out Loud, and the Joel Fallon Poetry Scholarship. Vallejo Poetry Slam and the 2019 Solano County Fair Talent Show, and many other events outside of Vallejo in Alameda, Benicia, Berkeley, Corte Madero, Millbrae, Monterey, Napa, Orinda, Fairfield, Los Angeles, Novato, Oakland, Pleasanton, San Francisco, San Mateo, San Rafael, and Sonoma. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Bob Sampayan, Mayor of the Vallejo, and the Vallejo City Council do hereby honor D.L. Lang's service to Vallejo as our second Poet Laureate and are grateful for her gifts to the city of her splendid, compelling poems and oratory, and for raising Vallejo's awareness of the benefits of poetry, and for bringing the power of poetry to uplift and inspire Vallejo residents during her 2-year term, September 2017 to December 2019. Signed today, January 28th, 2020, by Bob Sampayan, Mayor, and the Vallejo City Council. Thank you so much. Oh my God. So I have the two of you up here. You want to say something now and wait, or I can read Jeremy's now? Or okay, all right.
Thank you, Vallejo, for making all of that possible. It's been an honor and a pleasure and really a dream come true. I'd like to read to you my favorite poem that I wrote about Vallejo during my tenure. It's called Vallejo Together. Here in a city of many faiths, of many peoples, from many lands, both near and far, a kaleidoscope of folks, speaking a tapestry of languages that ring out in harmony across our beautiful city, as strangers become friends, all together holding hands under a smiling sun, we come together. We are forever tethered by these city streets, from the bridges in the south to the highways heading north, from the hills in the east to the waters of the west. We are populated by a people so sweet, working together, playing together, living together, Vallejo together. Sisters and brothers, fathers and mothers, older and younger, artists, students, workers, singing, dancing, chatting, and laughing. We join in celebration of our beautiful community, joyous in our unity. Together, we are Vallejo, building up our city together with love, unity, and respect. We sit on the foundations of past centuries, building a brighter future. Thank you very much.
Okay, so next we have our incoming Poet Laureate, Jeremy Snyder. And Jeremy also has a very impressive resume and the year ahead to do some great work. So here we go. So this is a proclamation honoring Jeremy Snyder as Poet Laureate for the city of Vallejo. Whereas a Poet Laureate is a poet officially appointed by the government or conferring institution whose duties often include composing poems for special events and occasions. And whereas a poet laureate increases the public's awareness of the benefits of poetry and raises awareness of the power of poetry along with other forms of literature, uplifts and inspires people, stimulates poetic impulse, fosters appreciation of poetry in all its forms, and serves Vallejo residents and visitors with the expression of culture through words. And whereas the Vallejo Community Arts Foundation engaged the Poetry Vallejo Committee, a committee comprised of local literary experts, to review and choose the finalists to become the third Poet Laureate of Vallejo, California. And whereas the city of Vallejo is fortunate to have an active and united community of poets living and working in our midst. And whereas Vallejo resident Jeremy Snyder was selected from this community to be and has generously agreed to serve as Vallejo's Poet Laureate for the term of January 2020 to December 2021. And whereas Mr. Snyder is a well-known and respected native Vallejoan and published poet who has been writing poetry and prose for as long as he can remember and has extensive experience performing poetry and spoken word in various venues. And since 2006, Mr. Snyder has been an active member of the artistic community and is currently the host of one of the longest running poetry shows in the Bay Area, Poetry by the Bay, founded in 2008. And for the last several years, he has worked to foster a love of writing. And whereas as a Vallejo Poet Laureate, Mr. Snyder's goal is to advance the love of writing in the Vallejo community, bring awareness to these written and oral traditions, demonstrate the healing properties of the creative writing, work closely with the Vallejo Public Library and conduct workshops throughout the Vallejo area, and host poetry readings at the Empress Lounge of his own work and those of area writers. And whereas his continued dedication to the local poetry community as a writer, performer, and host has made Mr. Snyder a champion of the written word, preparing him for the honor of becoming Vallejo's Poet Laureate. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that I, Bob Sampayan, Mayor of Vallejo, and the Vallejo City Council do hereby proclaim and appoint Jeremy Snyder as the official Poet Laureate of the City of Vallejo, the third, in recognition of his significant body of work and his service to poetry and poets in Vallejo for a term of 2 years ending on December 31st, 2021. Dated January 28th, 2020, signed by Bob Sampayan, Mayor, and the City Council. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
I don't have a poem tonight. I'm going to be performing at the Empress right after this. If you guys find this boring, you know where to go. But I wrote a few words. I know I only have a minute or so. Firstly, D.L. Lang is an impossibly difficult Poet Laureate to follow. She's been amazing. And to stand up with her today, I'm honored. I'm honored by this, and I'm thankful to the city of Vallejo. If you ask a poet what poetry has done for them, they might pause for a moment before they're able to answer the question. Believe it or not, it's hard to put into words. Over the next 2 years, I hope to spread the gospel of poetry and answer that question. I hope to spread the love of writing to all who live in this great city of ours. If you had not tried your hand at writing poetry already, I'm here to tell you that it has power to heal. It's not always about the fancy words as much as it is the cathartic process for getting the essence of your soul onto a blank sheet of paper. Whereas, I just had to say it one time, through the process of writing, you can mend a broken heart. You can gain a better understanding of the worst moments of your life. But I have time to tell you all the wonderful things poetry can do. So, on behalf of the people who write your greeting cards, on behalf of the people who write the daily affirmations you copy and paste into your Facebook profile, on behalf of the people who use metaphors to make you feel a little less alone in this world, you're welcome.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're going to move on with